Alright guys, what's up? This is SonicSol here, and I wanted to talk about my thoughts on the matchup for Ino, like matchup chart wise. This is still month 1, so take everything I tell you with a grain of salt. Things are definitely subject to change. If y'all remember, I made a tier list back in the last video, but I updated this tier list after a month. So what I mean when I put that out there is that things can change, alright? Sol is obviously still good, let's not debate that, but we can talk about that in another video. Point is, things are subject to change. Things are subject to change. They're never stagnant in fighting games. So don't expect this matchup chart to be the be-all, end-all for Ino. I will always tell you the mirror match is 6-4. It's not in her favor at all. Alright, this is not a meme. I'm dead ass. If one Ino gets it on the other Ino, it's over. So, yeah, the mirror match is fucking annoying in my opinion. Alright, so the matchups, I think, let's start with the matchup she kind of wins against. She wins against Faust. He has a lot of crappy hurt boxes for a lot of his normals, and you can kind of use like 2HS or like 6HS even to like stuff some of his normals out. His items, like he throws them to be annoying, and it's predicated on RNG. You can kind of go through a lot of his supers using Stroke the Big Tree. So like, not the other super where he grabs you and then runs the wheelchair in you, but the item super that he tosses up all the items, you can actually just stroke right through that. The tornado, everybody just 6Ps it. Ino, she can do things like 6HS from further out because it doesn't have a hurt box on the later frames to counter hit it. She can also do HCL to tag it as well. So speaking of horizontal chemical love, the very fact that Faust has a tall hitbox, usually for most of his normals, they literally get she literally bodies his hurt boxes for a lot of different normals with HCL as well. So I think this matchup is in Ino's favor. If it's not hella wins, I'd probably even put it here. I'd probably put it in wins. I don't know if Ino actually has any hella wins matchups actually, but we'll go down the list. I think Kai is very bare bones. I don't think she does terribly against Kai. I think it's probably even. The neutral is probably the hardest part for Ino in this situation. A lot of his pressure comes from doing shock state into the flip kick. And usually to get into that moment, he has to beat you within the neutral. And a lot of his buttons actually have pretty bad hurt boxes too, despite them being really strong pokes. So stuff like 5K can actually stop some of his pokes. There's also being able to hop over some of his stuff, like if he does like stun dipper, and you can whiff punish it with dive kick. Kai's very honest overall. Like, he has a DP, but his DP's 13 frames. The heavy slash version, the one that he'll do to bypass your no Oki, is 13 frames. So because of that, it's basically just like you meaty him, and you meaty him with a throw on his reversal by doing a safe jump. So if you do a safe jump, throw OS on his wake up, he just straight loses. He can't wake up DP on you. And even if he does do the DP, you can still punish him. At the end of the day, he still has to hold a lot of your shit on defense. But of course, as you already know, not everything that Ino does is foolproof. If he guesses right, then you go back to neutral, which is partly where, that's literally the only space where he'll actually beat you, I think. It's just the neutral. But everything else you kind of do well. You just get in on him once and it's pretty hard. Part of me wants to say Axl is even this time around. Some people will tell you that this is like Ino loses this, but I feel in this game it's different. It's not like older Guilty Gears. I don't think she loses outright to Axl. I think she goes kind of even with him. This is my opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm smoking something. But all the Axls I fight, at least, right? Like I'm able to outplay them really well. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's something with my affinity of playing zoners for so long that I know what he wants to do. But I think like Axl, you can see like what he's doing to you as Ino. Yeah, once you're in, he loses because he has no reversal. When you're fighting him, a lot of the interactions with Axl is, okay, he sees you jump and you go for dive. He's gonna do like 2S or like 2S, or he's gonna do 5P, right, to stop you, or 6P. If he sees that you're diving, he's gonna look for that. But then you switch it up and then you do stroke and you go underneath his anti-airs. Well, then if you do that, then he's gonna do 2 HS to counter hit your stroke, and then you dive to whiff punish that, right? So it's actually just rotating a lot of the approach. When he does the sickle swipe, where he throws the sickle and then swipe it up, he could delay it going up, but you could double jump and avoid it, and then if you know he's gonna do it on a read, you could dive kick while you're in midair to punish him. So it's like, there's a lot of options to be able to handle him within the long range, but obviously, the options that you have are risky, right? Because stroke the big tree can get body by 2 HS, and dives can be anti-aired, and when they're blocked, they're negative, right? So I feel like because he lacks a reversal outside of super, because his buttons are pretty slow, and because there's an interaction between Ino and Axl, you know, because they go out with each other and, you know, they fuck on the side, you feel me? But all jokes aside, point is, I feel like this matchup is even. I feel like Ino Axl is even. Maybe I'm smoking something for it, but every time I fight Axl, it's the same thing, you know? Like, I don't feel like terrible in this matchup as opposed to previous titles where it was terrible because he had options and he had a reversal. So that's my honest opinion. That's from my experience playing this month. I think from here on out it kind of gets iffy, right? It kind of gets a little bad. I think obviously there's no contest. I think Sol beats the shit out of Ino. I honestly think Sol beats the shit out of Ino. If anything, I think it's just by design. I think Sol, I want to put him in, she just loses to Sol, but it's just the reward that Sol gets for beating you. That's the problem. It's just a lot of the TODs, the TOD, the touch of deaths. All that shit are just annoying. The fact that his 5k punishes you completely for doing dive kick. Other characters, they just get to take their turn. His 5k actually punishes you. He gets a TOD on you if your risk is high, and if not, at lower risk gauge, he's carrying you to the corner, and you're probably gonna get wall broken. His SDP, you know, you got a safe jump against it, which isn't bad, but it means that you have to kind of sacrifice your pressure a little bit to just look out for the DP. I think there's other issues too, like far slash being what it is. You could do 2k to contest if he does another far slash, but what he could do is he could HS you and then you die. You could do 6 HS after to try to contest him for doing far slash after Gunflame, but then he could 5 HS you and you die, right? Like, there's just so many interactions when you fight against Sol that just makes it extremely hard to deal with as Ino, in my honest opinion. But it's not like she can't fight him, but the amount of times you're allowed to make a mistake versus this character is just off of his strength alone that makes it bad to fight as Ino. It's not even a matchup thing at that point. It's literally just this character is fucking insane, you know? So that's my opinion. I think Nago is Ino's worst matchup in the game. My honest opinion. I think if Nago players lose against Ino, they literally don't know the matchup. When you fight somebody like Fame or Hotashi or any of the cats over in the US that are cooking people with this character, or even A3 Religion, right? Shoutouts to him and the TSB boys. When you fight against Nago as Ino, it's hell, because first and foremost, 5S, far 5S negates note. If you do stroke the big tree underneath that, he can do 2S and punish you, right? Or he could preemptively do 2HS. It's slow, but if he's predicting that you might jump, it actually can cover both the dive and the stroke the big tree and the chemical love. All three of those options can be stuffed out on later frames, because the stroke the big tree comes up later, so her hurt box comes back up and it trades with a massive hurt box of 2HS. And I don't understand why that happens. I mean, I'm telling you, but like, I don't understand why that has to happen that way if it's a dedicated anti-air tool. And he gets mad damage off of it. If you dive, like I said before, 2HS stops you. If you chemical love to try to whiff punish him, you can do chemical love to whiff punish a lot of his tools, but the risk comes with the fact that he could clone dash through chemical love, or he could 2HS it and then you die, right? The spin is 0 on block, and a lot of Ino's options within that 0 on block situation are very, very bad. They're very poor. She can't really contest him. If she does like 2P because he's doing 5P, it'll beat it, right? But if he does 2P after, your 2P will lose, because his 2P will come out a little bit faster. And if he spaces it, he's plus on block, the Beyblade move, the spinaroonie move. right? And you could try to challenge him and contest him in different ways, but a lot of it is a zero-sum game for Ino, I think. You really have to manage the blood gauge in that matchup. You have to basically manage Nago's blood gauge and make sure he spends a lot of resources to try and catch you, so that way you can get him into bloodlust form, and then you could punish him, right? I do think there are some factors, like I said before, horizontal chemical love can whiff punish him, and it can whiff punish a lot of his buttons. I do think that 6P will be able to deal with some of his buttons as well due to upper body invulnerability, but it's just too risky to go for that when he can also do things like 2K, 2S, and then punish you for that. And you gotta remember, you're blocking this thing 0 on block. It's neutral, so it's just not in your favor in general. A lot of his tools just stop you in the neutral outright, and this dude hits like a truck. If he touches you, you're dead. You're just dead. You're not coming back. It's like Soul, right? Soul and Nago are the same in that if they touch you, you lose. It's just that one actively beats your character in all options, while the other is just strong as shit. So these are probably her 2 worst matchups. Nago being the worst matchup to fight, I think, in my honest opinion. I think Leo is pretty bad to fight. You have options in the neutral for a little bit, but the moment he does the charge fireball, it's extremely hard to stroke underneath that. Because when you go underneath charged fireball, he still can act because he recovers fast enough. Because of that, it's so risky to do stroke. And the other thing too is his buttons in the neutral are like Kai's, but I think they're a little bit better. He could stop his jump arc a little bit. He could double jump and then do a dive downward. But I think the main thing that I would have to say that makes this matchup hard for Ino is the back turn stance. When he turns his back around, right, to you, he's got 5 options, I think, if I'm correct. He could go high, which is -6. He could go low, which is a standing low. He can go into a command grab stance that counters you, right? And then he can go into an unblockable, a guard break that you can't YRC. So he has 5 different options that he could do. And out of those options, he can also side switch again. So he technically has 6 if he wants, but it's 5 that you have to look for. And out of those 5, if you try to challenge him on any of those, you can't really do much. If he does the overhead, because he could space it out, your 2K doesn't reach. Your 5K is too slow to touch him. So because you block that, you can't actually do anything because he's spacing it out. And he can actually space trap you for it. If you try to even take your turn, let's say you think he's going to go for the delay, like with the unblockable, with the overhead kick that actually guard crushes, he could parry you and then you die. And then you're going to be scared to not press anything, and then he's going to command grab you. And like I said, because Ino doesn't really have many options outside of other characters that have faster options or stuff that reaches to stop him from playing that game, it's extremely hard to deal with. And because Ino doesn't have any options to deal with back turn overhead, it's literally like, okay, I gotta guess between the overhead or if he's gonna stance cancel and be +5, and I have to throw him in between that, right? He does this to every character, but Ino doesn't have the tools like other characters to deal with it. So it's extremely hard, I think. And like I said, yeah, you could 6P it. You could 6P when he does overhead. It's 9-frame upper body invuln though. So you kind of have to know he's going to do it. You can't react to it. And you could try to do a bar A 6P to deal with the buttons after the overhead. But remember, he could parry you. He can also parry you. So it's definitely hard, man. It's definitely extremely hard, I think, for Ino in that matchup. I think Millia is an even matchup. I think Millia might be even. Both of these characters do the same exact thing. They have the same approach, except I want to approach, yeah, it's basically like a mirror match, somebody said in chat. Both of you want to set play each other, right? She moves fast and tries to mix you up between her mobility in air and on the ground. She wants you to chase after her so she could do close slash to anti-air you on the ground and gotta confirm into disc. Or she's gonna try to whiff punish your approach and play patient so that way she can punish you or set traps. Shout out to Lord Knight who taught me that, and from me playing the matchups with him, Millia is gonna set traps on the screen with HS disc to stop your dives and your attempts to stroke. But obviously, right, she can't do both at once. If you're not gonna play that game with her where you're trying to chase after her and you attempt to air-to-air her, play air footsies that way with jump HS, jump S, right? If you try to stroke underneath her jump-ins or navigate to where she'll land, because a lot of the matchup is, where is Millia gonna land? And I want to be directly underneath her so I can 6P her, right? It's usually that. You're not trying to chase her in the air. So, she's gonna want to basically try to approach, not on the ground per se, mostly on the ground. She's gonna try to basically check her approach, either with 2K, 5K, or horizontal chemical love, or 2S, right? And then she could also do 2HS as well, or far S, to kind of stop her from running in and force the Millia player to kind of jump afterwards. And like I said, with your air-to-air tools, you don't have to chase after her. You could just control that space. It's just air control. And like I said, both these characters, both Ino and Millia, lack reversals outside of Super. They lack fast normals outside of Super as well. Millia has a 7 frame 5P, and her 2P I think is 6 frames. Ino's is 5 frames for her 2P, and 6P and 5P is 6 frames. So really, like, you have a faster like button in those scenarios where she's putting you on defense, but that's just like situational shit. My point is that both of y'all lack shit on defense, so literally it's whoever gets in first, and it's a fairly even matchup, not just because of that, but because of the approach that both of these characters have to do to get in on each other. So I think this matchup is pretty even, honestly. I think Ino loses to Potemkin. Now, don't get me wrong, right? I see a lot of old heads and veterans in the fucking comments telling me, you could note him and you could make it guide over the flick. Oh, well, you could HCL him and stop. No, I'm gonna tell you why. The flick that Potemkin does is different in this game as opposed to all the other Guilty Gears, right? The reason why is in other Guilty Gears, the flick hitbox was not as high. So you could guide the note down to his head because it doesn't have head involved. So when he went for the flick, he would get hit by the note. And then what would happen, you would actually get in. In this game, however, the flick hitbox is so large to reflect your note that when he goes to flick it, you could have it directly above him and it'll still reflect, right? That alone told me this matchup is not good. A pot that knows what they're doing, this matchup is not good. It's not good. The other thing too, right, is Mega Fist, right? I get told that when he Mega Fist, he's -6, so you could take your turn. But the problem is that what's 6 frame startup for 2K? But with 2K, right, it hits in a way where you're not close enough to do 2D when they're spacing it out. And if they space it out, he's actually safe. So you can't actually do anything. I think Mega Fist is probably the one move that actually fucks Ino up really fucking hard. With Ino, because she lacks defensive options, when he's doing shit like, when he's doing like 2K, 2D, when he goes into the Garuda cannon, he's like +19. This is his main core mix-up, right? Other characters have reversal options. Ino doesn't. Ino doesn't. The chop is 5H. Yeah, the chop is 5HS. Yeah. The chop is 5HS. I apologize. When Potemkin is next to you and he does either 5HS, if he does, I think it's another button too. Either 2K, one of those buttons, he'll go into the Garuda cannon. He's +19. You actually can't do anything. You can't. Every character has to deal with that situation in some way, and if you don't have a reversal, I think it's really hard to deal with it. And Ino doesn't have the fast buttons nor a reversal outside of Super to deal with them. And if you try to reversal Super, you could clash with the Garuda Bust or the Garuda Cannon, and then y'all both clash cancel and something can happen after that. And because of the RC options he gets after that, the Roman cancel options, you just die because you're forced in a situation where you literally have to guess between, is he gonna go low or is he gonna do Kara command grab, and he could RC and then Kara command grab you for trying to backdash again. So yeah, 2K to Garuda impact. So that's what I'm saying, right? Like, dealing with Potemkin is extremely hard on defense, and it's also extremely hard to deal with Potemkin in the neutral because of how they made flick work in this game. Same, like, if you try to HCL him to zone him out, he could do flick against that too, because it's considered a projectile. Both that and the note both can get flicked from any range. But people will tell you, you can stroke the big tree under flick, you can stroke the big tree under some of his normals, but then that's why he does the Mega Fist backwards, and then you die. Same with the dive kick. And if you're doing stroke the big tree to deal with those options, then you're actively throwing that out. And the other thing too is he could jump back when he sees you do the stroke. Now I know there's interactions in the neutral, but his interactions are far better at the reward than yours are. And when he does stuff like Hammerfall, it's negative. But remember, another thing about Ino is that Ino lost her vertical chemical love, her VCL. She used to do that in other games to stop Potemkin from using his armor moves from essentially getting in. So Hammerfall has 1 hit of armor, and she would used to do horizontal chemical love, vertical chemical love in order to stop him. Now she can't do that. Now, in order to stop him, she has to do note, or she has to do HCL and PRC cancel that, or she has to do stroke and cancel that. She needs meter to deal with that. So there's too much risk to deal with Pot for too little reward. You get mix on him because he doesn't have a reversal, like to really come back with anything. His buttons are slow, but you're taking these big risks, and you just will lose mad life. And like I said, if he could command grab you, and if you backdash, he could Kara cancel command grab you. And if he lands those, because Ino has below average health, 2 of those will kill you. So, I definitely think that Potemkin is a hard matchup for Ino. This is also going off of experience. Shoutouts to Native. If y'all know who Native is, I think he's New Jersey. I fought his Potemkin. Bro, his Potemkin is fucking insane, bro. A lot of what I'm telling you, I learned from playing against him. It's not in Ino's favor at all, in my honest opinion. I think Ino goes even with Ramlethal. You have a lot of options to stop her. When Ramlethal does far slash or jump slash, you can stroke underneath both of them. She could also do the sword toss, but it won't matter. If she does the sword toss, right, you could jump over it and punish her with dive, or you could, again, stroke underneath it. And a lot of her neutral game, because you nullify her far slash that she tries to use, she's forced to come in on you and jump at you with a lot of her normals, like jump HS and all these other things, right? So, because she has to do all of that, because she's gotta now engage with you, because she can't play with you in the mid-range, it makes it easier to stop her. You get to see what she's doing and then try to anti-her with 6P, or you could do preemptive 6HS, or you could stroke underneath her jump in and be evasive. You have options against her, right? When she has you in the corner on defense, you would think it's bad, but because you know where to FD her pressure, like if she does close slash or close slash into 2 slash into sword toss or anything, right? Because she'll do that, you got FD, and when she does the sword toss in the corner, you jump out. If you see that she does the grounded one, you jump out, and she's forced to do jump abare P to stop you from jumping out. Or what you can do is, like I said, you could stroke underneath her jump in, or you could, like, there's a lot of interaction. If she throws the sword, you can stroke underneath it. If you FD her before she throws the sword and you block the sword in corner, you could jump out and punish her. You could stroke underneath her jump in. She could throw the high sword to prevent you from jumping, and then she obviously has to preemptively see that you do HS stroke and do 2 HS or 2D to punish you. I think it's 2D, right? So what you can do is whiff punish her, or you can also do far S, or what you can do is you can basically stop her approach if she tries to run at you with 2S. You have a lot of options to stop what she's gonna do to you if she throws the up sword, and then what will happen now is, okay, she's gonna be more hesitant. There's way more interaction. There's way more interaction to fight Ramlethal, I feel, and a lot of other characters can do the same thing against her. And the best part about it is, if Ino has all these tools to kind of get around all this stuff, then it makes fighting her, it makes going back to neutral a little bit easier and dealing with her offense a little bit easier. But of course, like I said, she has counter to the counterplay. The other thing too is she can't whiff a lot of buttons as well, right? Like I said before, you can stroke underneath her far slash or her jump slash. But if she does like these big heavy buttons, like, you know, where she does the slam, I think it's 6HS, if she does that, or any other button, they're super negative and super whiff punishable. You could do horizontal chemical love to whiff punish them. You could wait and punish that way. You have a lot of options, man. And then when you have her in the corner, she does have a lot of reversals. So when you have her in the corner, her main reversal, the explosion super, is the thing that's annoying. So all you have to do is, 214 HS is the slam down move. So all you have to do is, when you have her in the corner, you just safe jump her. You have to safe jump her. Like, almost all the time you have to safe jump. With Ino, you do stroke the big tree, heavy slash, hard knockdown, then you do jump with HS, and then do jump S or jump K. And you'll immediately block the super. I guarantee it. It's 7-frame startup like every other DP. So, like I said, I think you can fight this matchup really well. Now, the reason I say it's even is because if Ramlethal touches you, well, you're stuck in the mix. Like I said, she has options to counterplay you when she has you in the corner. Like I said, if she knows you're gonna do stroke, she could do 2D. If she knows you're gonna jump, you're gonna try to jump out, you do a barre, jump P. So there's interaction. It's not lopsided for either player. So I think this matchup is even for Ino. I don't think it's terrible. And that's my opinion, right? That's my opinion off of experience. I feel like in the neutral, he fucks you, but when you get in, you could beat him. I don't know. I think the problem with Zato, why I think you lose against him more than you win against him, is because of the frog, right? The frog is probably the one thing that stops you, right? He has a lot of options on his offense to mix your ass up with dust. He could do the frog and then he locks you down, or he could do the drills, right, with Eddie. He could do invite hell into the drills and jail you and then dash up for a free mix-up. He could do a press, right? And I think that's the biggest thing too. Between the frog and a press in the neutral, when Zato has both of those on the screen, you can't dive at him, you can't throw projectiles at him, you can't stroke at him. Yeah, and if you note at all against this character, against Zato, he could do a press, or a pose rather. He could do a pose, which is the armor move, and then do reflect. And you can't dive at him, you can't throw a projectile. If you do it, reflects it, you actually can't do shit. And if he sees you jump, he'll just throw out the frog. So it's actually really hard to fight him in the neutral, I think. I think those tools are what makes it hard to approach him. And as Ino, when he has you on his offense, it's so hard. Like, you have to visually see the dust, or I think it's 6K, the overhead, the guillotine overhead kick, right? Those things can actually open you up fairly well. And because he's so lopsided between his neutral and offense against you, you have to work 2 times harder to get in on him. But obviously, if you get in on Zato, he also has no defense, so he dies. And I think without Eddie, the matchup would be even. But it's just because of the style of character that Zato is. He plays with Eddie, so naturally, because of these tools with Eddie, it's pretty much in his favor. I feel the neutral is better in his favor. I think if he didn't have Eddie, which, you know, it's his character, so he's never gonna not have Eddie, it'd be even. But it's literally because of those options in the neutral that I think she slightly loses to Zato. I was thinking at first you lost the matchup against him because of the parry, but you have counterplay against the parry, right? The parry's probably the one thing that fucks you in the neutral, right? Because he could do the parry to stop stroke the big tree and to stop your regular dives. But the thing I found out is you could do HS dive, but HS dive is a huge risk because it's negative on block. But if you do HS dive, because it does multiple hits and it's only parrying 1 hit, you actually can punish him for it. The other thing too is I saw Daru do it in the 15v15 where he would do early jump HS to stop the parry early. So he would be able to act after and actually throw him or press a button before him. So I think dealing with Anji has gotten easier over time for Ino, despite that tool that he has with the parry. His Fujin is so whack. It's so whack. I'm sorry. Like, his Fujin is so terrible. Like, there's gaps in between it so you can stop it. Like, he just cries. And like I said, you have many ways to blow him up through that. Like with the counter. So you actually can stop him there. The other thing too is a lot of his buttons are long range. They're better than yours in the neutral, but they're slow as shit. So he's kind of he has to make big bets to stop your approach. I will say 5P stops your hops I think he has the best jab. This is a hot I think Anji has the best jab in the game. That's just me. Not for it being fat, but it's range. So he's able to stop your hover dashes very well, right? But the issue is that, like I said, he has to take preemptive risks to stop your hop. And you can always empty low him. You have the note to actually like cover you. So it's definitely a really good jab. It stops a lot of the fake pressure you do. So you have to switch shit up.
Stretch those shoulders.
When he does fan, right? So if he ever does the fan toss, or like when he does fan toss, or if he does if he jumps at you at any point into fan, you can actually do HCL. You can actually HCL him, and he just gets punished every time. And I think the only thing you have to worry about with Anji, besides the counter, is the counter super. You can't safe jump Anji. Because of his counter super, he will blow you up for it. So that's the one thing you have to play around, is the counter and the counter super, which both are fairly easy to deal with in my honest opinion. Yeah, I think Anji kind of suffers as a character, and that kind of aids Ino a bit. So, but I think this matchup is even, honestly. I don't think it's terrible. I think Mei is the third hardest matchup. The third hardest matchup for Ino by far. Dealing with her is so bad, bro. The fucking dolphin, man. Oh my god. You have options to deal with it, but it's all preemptive. The biggest thing is her buttons. They're all disjointed, and you actually can't challenge her in the air. So if you try to air her, you're gonna get jump HS and you're gonna die. Like, you just die. The other thing too is her buttons are really, like, I think it's far slash anti-airs you. 6Ps are really good anti-air. The fact that 2HS anti-airs you too, I mean, it's guaranteed, but she gets a big combo off of that. So she has 3 or 4 different anti-airs to stop your approach. Jump HS has a disjointed hurt box and tags you. So you have a lot of shit. You have a lot of shit that you have to worry about as Ino against that, and you kind of have to fish out for the whiff punishment on a lot of her tools, which is risky because, like I said, any of those tools can hit you out of the air and then you die. Like I said, Dolphin is hard to deal with. 5K is probably your best bet to stop Dolphin, but you're still making the read, and you don't get that huge of a reward unless you have RC, right? And Ino, like I said, has terrible defense, so the moment Mei gets in, she's gonna overhead kiss you and command grab you into 60%. So that's another thing you have to deal with. You also have to deal with her ability to move with double jump into 2 slash or 2HS? Is it 2 slash or 2HS? The anchor fall. So if she does double jump into anchor fall, you're not air to airing that. You must 6P it. And good luck 6Ping that, because you have to guess between left or right when she does it in some situations. Yeah, it's 2HS, and you're not, like I said, you're not air to airing it. You're not air to airing that button. It's going to stuff you out. So you really have to do like 6P, or you have to do 6HS. And even then, because of where she's jumping, it can be delayed to stuff you out. And in some cases, it can actually just stuff out 6P outright. So you really can't do much against her in the neutral. I think Mei's really hard, and when you get in on her, when she has bar, you're fucked, bro. When she has bar, you're absolutely fucked, because you can't actually. I think you can safe jump against it, but it's still annoying to deal with. It's another factor that you have to deal with. Oh yeah, and her beach ball. Somebody in the chat mentioned it. Her beach ball is extremely annoying because it aims downward. So if you're trying to see it on reaction from full screen or like 3/4 screen and you're trying to stroke underneath it, you actually could get hit by it. There's way too many things that this character I think has to stop you. So, but I don't think it's as terrible. I don't think it's as terrible as the other two matchups. Oh, and don't even try to note against the beach ball, because it actually eats up the projectile durability. So, no, I definitely think this is her third worst matchup in the game. These three are probably the worst matchups in the game. Geo gives her a hard time in the neutral. A lot of what Geo wants to do is really what you want to do, which is get in, but she has a lot of tools to stop your approach on the ground. I think between her dedicated 2HS, which is a ground pound, it stops stroke the big tree. So you have to play around that. And if she does the dash S, I think, which is a multi-hitting kick, if she does dash S, well, sounds to me like you're going to get counter hit, because you're trying to dash in with a button, you're going to get hit. If you try to do 6HS, you're going to get hit. If you try to do 2HS, you're going to get hit. Yeah, 2D, my bad. It's not 2HS. It's 2D that's the shockwave. That shockwave is extremely hard to deal with if you're, because you can't do stroke. You now have to hop over it. But if you hop over it, then she could just do dash S. And her mobility is insane. If you throw out anything, so like if you throw out a dive misspaced, she can 6S that, or she could do not 6S, she could dash S that, or she could do HS on that. Also, the other thing too is her cannon spike. You can kind of deal with it with 6P, like the cannon drill that she does. It's +1 on block, but you could react to it from further ranges. But up close, you're not reacting to that. You're definitely not reacting to that. And I think for Ino, her reward isn't as better as other characters that do 6P. She gets the hard knockdown, which is great for her, but she doesn't really get much to stop it. What else? I think obviously when Geo gets in, dealing with block string into cannon drill, block string into the side switch overhead, block string into low 2K. A lot of that is extremely annoying. Extremely fucking annoying. And because her mobility is so fast, I think it's one of the fastest, next to like maybe Millia and Chipp. Because her grounded speed is so fast, you can't whiff anything, and when she's on top of you, she can take her advantage very quickly. So yeah, I think Geo stops Ino fairly well. You can't note her, and you can't HCL her, by the way. If you try to note her, cannon drill goes through that. If you try to HCL, cannon drill goes through that too. So you actually have to fight her like square up. So I think it's definitely a hard matchup. You have to focus on doing a lot of these matchups focus on you having to commit with a minus dive to whiff punish. So because of that, they get to take their turns a lot in these losing matchups because you're taking that risk. Oh, and I forgot the meme. Geo's the one character where if you do HCL, it completely whiffs on her. So great. You literally can't HCL her in that matchup, period. And lastly, we have Chipp, which is, I also think, a losing matchup. I think Chipp is pretty annoying to deal with. You have options against him, but like I said, I made a video on how to beat Chipp with Ino, but a lot of those are preemptive measures. His mobility is like Millia in that he's forcing you to worry about catching him. You don't want to catch Chipp, I think. You don't want to catch Chipp at all. You want to basically keep him like literally like at arm's length and let him monkey around. You can deal with his jump 2K with 5P, which isn't bad. You can deal with his Gamma Blade. You can deal with that using 2P. You can deal with the command grab with 5P. You can deal with him doing the side switch mix-up with 6HS. You have counterplay against him, but it's very hard to react. He's very much more mobile than you. And so because of that, like, he's more mobile than somebody like Millia. Millia has double air dash and double jump and capo. Chipp doesn't have all that, and when he double jumps, he loses his air dash. But because of Jump 2K altering his trajectory, and because of the other options with Alpha Blade, especially when he's got you cornered, is extremely annoying to deal with. You have options against him, but those options usually aren't super rewarding outside of bar. You can safe jump his DP, which is nice, and you can force him to guess in situations too. But I just think his mobility alone is extremely hard for you to deal with, because as Ino, your mobility is much slower than his. So you're forced to not chase him, and you're not able to rush him down in the same way that you could like Millia, where Millia you could kind of contest him more, or you could contest Millia more by basically doing jump HS or jump S. You can do that against Chipp, but he has a lot of options. Like I said, jump 2K, which forces you to stay grounded. He can do jump HS, which can also cross up, and has a lot of I think its hurtbox is kind of weird. It's hard to like really trade with it. So yeah, I think it's a hard matchup for Ino, if you were to ask me. She has a polarizing matchup spread, in my honest opinion. I think with this character, you can definitely play in tournament and do well with her because of her polarizing nature, but you also have to be a really good player. I think it's extremely hard as Ino to be able to enforce your playstyle given her toolkit right now as of this patch. But if you're a good player, you'll make it work. I think her even matchup spread is fightable. A lot of those characters you're gonna see in tournament. You are gonna see Millia, you are gonna see Axl, you are gonna see Ramlethal. You're gonna see those three characters in tournament. Chipp you can fight. You can still fight Chipp. In a way, when I look at this matchup spread, you can still fight Chipp in some manner. And I think it's ordered. I think everything I have here is somewhat ordered. But yeah, everyone else, they just have tools that inherently stop your character design, either within neutral or just in more aspects, right? More aspects, and they force you to basically overcommit with dives to whiff punish them. And the characters that defeat you in all three categories, offense, defense, and neutral, which are the bottom three, with an asterisk on soul, I think it really shows the flaws of Ino as a character. But it's funny that it's actually refreshing how much of a change there is from the older Guilty Gears when you look at the matchup spread, with characters like Kai and Axl being easier this time around to deal with. So, but I would probably attest that to their changes as characters from the previous versions. Anyway, I think that's it for this matchup chart. I'm kind of confident with how it looks like right now, but obviously, like I said before, this is subject to change. This is not something that's going to be long-standing. There'll probably be changes in the future. We'll have to see. But this is off of my experience watching matches, playing matches. This is literally like the matchup chart that I'm going off of right now, based on my experience. So take my opinion as you see it. So anyway, if you guys liked the video, if you got informed from it, definitely leave a like, leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about Ino. Tell me where I got something wrong, maybe. If you think a matchup is different, tell me discuss about it, you know. And subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so you know the next time I upload another video and when I'm live as well. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching my video, and Ino game, stay alive.